Hello everybody, it's Foxy speaking, and welcome to another episode of Foxy's Fun Inspirational Chats, and today I will be your host. In this episode, this is one of the past stories I was spoken to about many years ago when I was just a little boy. This story is based on a true real-life story from my late grandfather Edmund when he was a little boy. This is going back many years ago now, far too many years ago, years before I was born when he was a little boy. Sorry about it, let's let's crack to it, or crack on as one would say. Yes. In this story of when Edmund was a little boy, he grew up in a very nice little house, but in his house, in his garden, in his home garden, there was a tree which grew fruit on its branches. Something that did inspire Edmund to a reasonably large extent when he was just a little boy. And because of this, it was a pear tree which grew in his home garden. And one day he decided to pick from the pear tree. He decided to pick a number of pears or so. Which, in a way, this was a long time ago when he decided to pick the pears from the pear tree. Sorry if I nearly lost track of what I was speaking about, but as he came to the garden, he picked up a little ladder, which he took over to the tree, placed it up, stood up properly, and began to climb the ladder. He was picking the pears from the pear trees as he began to succeed with it, but here comes something rather surprising. As young Edmund, then a little boy, as he was picking the pear trees and propping them into a sack, picking up the brightly coloured ripened pears from the pear tree, the ladder suddenly began to wobble. It began to wobble harder. Then the wobble got stronger and more fierce, to the point where Edmund himself toppled off the ladder. The ladder toppled, and he toppled off the ladder, falling onto the ground with a large thump. The pears scattered out of the sack, the ripened pears he had picked, but here comes trouble. As Edmund landed to the ground, falling off the ladder from picking pears from the pear tree, he broke his arm. Luckily his parents saw it, rushed to the scene of Edmund's accident, and rushed him straight into the Southampton A&E hospital to have a bandage put up on his arm, being subsequently arm-bandaged. Thankfully, his wounds on his broken arm were not severe enough to the point where he had to stay overnight in A&E. He only just had to stay for about a couple of hours or so. Well, a reasonable set of hours he had to stay in A&E to have his arm thoroughly examined, as any A&E would do. So thanks to the NHS, he got his arm bandaged up and well checked. And after that, he went back home, but obviously had to wait for a number of weeks before his arm was completely recovered and healed up. But in some ways he did think to himself about being more careful whenever he next clambers up a ladder to pick ripened fruit from a fruitful tree, or using a ladder in any circumstances. Well, and what might one expect from a lesson from that? So, that was one of the stories of my late grandfather Edmund. He did share this with me many years ago when I can remember him sharing this story to me when I was about 8, and Edmund was only about 8 years old when this happened, his pear tree accident, only at the age of 8. to falling off a ladder when picking pears from a pear tree and breaking his arm. Absolutely painful, and as young as 8. Extremely, oh goodness, you're very, very young to have an ordeal like that. Very, very young, but it can happen to some young children in many cases, and especially in the past, when there wasn't as much worry from parents about their child's safety in the past. Quite surprising compared to now these days. But thanks all indeed for watching this video. Please let me know what your thoughts were in the comments down below on the story of my late grandfather Edmund, whom as you know, he very sadly died back in 2020, as lots of you already know. Very, very sadly. But please let me know what your thoughts were in the comments down below. And thanks all indeed for watching. Ta-ta everybody. From Foxy.